And Jack Ford is with us now, along with criminologist Casey Jordan. Good to have both of you back to talk about this with us. Jack, from day one, you said to us you think that she'll be acquitted. Clearly, public perception, as we just saw, did not agree with you, but it doesn't come into play here.
Not so much that I thought she'd be acquitted, but we said, right here on the show 2 years ago, we said this is going to be a very tough case for the prosecution here. Even the prosecutor acknowledged that, because even though there is so much about Casey Anthony in terms of was she a despicable mother, was she a horrible person here, and I think they proved that. You still, to get a murder conviction, you have to prove that it was a murder. Now, it's very difficult, not impossible, to get a murder conviction without proving a cause of death, but it's really difficult. And here, that was the big hurdle for the prosecution from the very beginning. They couldn't prove how this child died. And if you can't, I don't think the jury even got to the point where they started looking at, her motive. By the way, you don't have to prove a motive in a murder case, but it's helpful. But I don't think the jury even got there. And I think if we ever hear from them, what you're going to hear is what we've said from the very beginning. This was a very, very difficult case for the prosecution to prove.
Hey, Casey, the public, obviously, with the response yesterday, shock and awe, no matter what circles you run in. Anyone with any bit of a legal background, though, are they surprised with this decision? Because, like Jack said, you could not tie Casey to the actual murder. You couldn't make that link.
But even the legal analysts and the experts got caught up in all of the publicity, and emotions ran extremely high in this case. I mean, that's what we've been seeing for the past few hours. The truth of the matter is, Jack is absolutely right. If you thin slice it and look for the elements of the murder, you lean back and go, wow, the prosecution probably did overcharge. They never should have put death on the table, because that raises an expectation of even more than reasonable doubt. If you are thinking that this person that you convict may be put to death, then you really microanalyze everything. And I think the CSI effect also had a big impact as well.
Meaning that people expect things to be done so quickly, and they expect all this sort of fancy science.
That's right. And we had 3 or 4 weeks of hardcore forensics. And one of the oldest strategies in defense is that if you can't convince them, confuse them. And I think that really did work in this particular case.
Was that, I mean, Jose Baez was from the beginning, when he brought in the child molestation issues with George, the grandfather, at the very beginning, was that kind of part of his play to distract the jury, to get them thinking so many different things that they had to be reasonable?
Your job is, as Casey said, if you're a defense attorney, you don't have to answer any questions. I don't think this jury agreed with Jose Baez, what he said in his opening statement, because there was no evidence anyway about the fact that this was a drowning accident and they tried to cover it up. If you're the defense attorney, you have to just raise questions. And here, there are enough questions going in to start with that I think what the defense did is they accentuated those questions. That's why I think they were successful. Remember, the jury didn't say innocent. Juries don't say innocent. They say not guilty. And not guilty can mean a whole lot of things. It can mean innocent, but it can also mean, as I suspect it means here, that the jurors are saying in my gut, I think something happened, but you know what? You just didn't prove it to me.
You didn't connect the dots, right? And the burden is, as we talk about so many times, the burden in a case like this is on the prosecution. Look at the system, though, overall, because as we hear this outrage from the public, they're saying this is a miscarriage of justice. How could this happen? Did the system, though, work as it was intended to?
I think that there are two problems here. I think the justice system, I think you can look at it, even though you might terribly disagree with this verdict, you might be angry at it. I think if you look at it objectively, you can say these jurors said it wasn't proven beyond a reasonable doubt. I think one of the problems was the coverage of this. We all know that opinion has become an important part of news coverage. And opinion is very valuable for journalism. It helps to shape and drive and direct conversation and debate. But what I think was missing here, and why I think the public doesn't understand why this was such a hard case, is I don't think there were enough voices of that objective and thoughtful analysis that says, here's the strengths and weaknesses of both sides here. Everybody doesn't have to take a side.
And you had that, and Cheney Mason, who brought that up yesterday, because a lot of what they were talking about after the trial was the media assassination, and how every day it was more, okay, who won in court today? And more of a kind of playing this like a ball game type thing, playing it as a win and loss type of issue, and that's a problem, because, like you said, for 2.5 years, this woman has been persecuted publicly by pundits out there that have their views.
Well, that's true, but Cheney Mason loves the Fifth Amendment and the 14th Amendment for his client. He has to take the Constitution with the First Amendment, which does allow media coverage of these cases. We have public trials so that there are no Spanish Inquisitions, and he can call it a witch hunt, but he should be very happy that the media got what it wanted and he got what he wanted in the end. So he can walk away with the idea that the system does indeed work.
Does she walk away tomorrow?
I think she probably does. I think she's done 3 years already. If he stacks everything on top and gives her 4 years, she's probably going to get out on time spent. Maybe do a little bit, but out the door.
A few months, maybe.
Casey Jordan, Jack Ford, great to have both of you with us this morning. Thanks.
Always great to be here.